I worked in the adult industry for most of, or for the biggest part of the last 35 years or so. And I can tell you that things have changed in the world of adult content tremendously. A bunch of things changed things over the years, both on the business side and on the production side. But it's quite amazing. Uh, Old school porn made before home VCRs were de rigueur and everyone had a videotape machine in their home. In other words, before Disney made it big, and a lot of people don't realize that the porn industry made Disney possible. The porn industry is the reason that Disney is still a thing. Nobody seems to understand this, so I'll explain it in a few
Wait,
sentences.
wait, wait. What's more evil, the porn industry or Disney?
Well, they both suggest all sorts of fantasies that are just completely unrealistic in everyday lives. But the point was, Disney wasn't doing very well economically until parents realized that if they had a machine on which they could throw in the same video cassette of Cinderella or whatever over and over again to give them free time while their kids sat and watched it, their life wouldn't be as good. So, because people wanted to watch porn, they bought videotape machines. Because they had videotape machines, they could now put Disney content onto the videotape machines and use these as a device to make it possible to get more things done in their home while their kids watched the same show over and over again. And so Disney became huge because people started buying cartoon content, stuff that not necessarily Cinderella 2, Cinderella 3. It's actually a very well understood media fact that Disney made most of its money in response to the fact that the videotape machine became a standard in people's homes, and that was because of porn. People got videotape machines so they could watch porn at home. Internet also grew in very much the same formula. The internet is for porn. Now, when you start to recognize that for most people, porn is something they throw on for a couple of minutes till they get to the thing they think will get them off, and then they quickly get themselves off. They don't watch something to watch it all the way through. You don't comment on what a good actress or what a good actor someone is in the porn industry as a general rule. In fact, these days, as we've switched from scene-based scripted porn to almost entirely unscripted, characters don't have names, the performers are just the performers, they aren't playing characters. It's all what we call porn verite. Okay, it's as real life as it can be. It used to be that it would take 90 minutes of shooting, it would take an hour and a half of shooting to get 8 minutes of camera ready content. And 8 minutes was the average length of a scene in a porn movie. Porn movies were about 81 minutes long on average, so they would fit onto a video cassette that was 90 minutes of duration and have room for ads at the beginning and trailers at the end. Okay, and this is well understood industry-wide. This was the business standard. And you wanted to have one lesbian scene and 4 or 5 boy-girl scenes and possibly a couple of boy-boy-girl scenes or girl-girl-boy scenes. And the talent were all compensated for their work based on whether or not it was one girl with one boy or one girl with another girl or one girl with multiple boys. It was all well understood in advance. The male talent was usually paid somewhere between $50 and $150 for a scene. Specialists, guys who were well known and featured guys, might make as much as $500 for a scene. And the girls would make somewhere between $700 for a boy-girl scene, $150 for a BJ scene, another $50 on top of that for every successive boy they would give a head to. It was a very, very inexpensive industry into which to get going. The barriers to entry were you needed to have people who knew what they were doing, lighting, real cameras, and real editing equipment. And of course, as the world has changed and everyone can shoot porn on their iPhone and get better quality than we could back in the 70s and 80s with anything less than 16 millimeter, the world has changed. People don't necessarily need to see edits. They just cut out the stuff where the girls go, "Oh, that fucking hurts. Don't do that anymore." They cut it out so it just goes, "Oh, that fucking hurts." They cut out the part where she says, "Don't do that anymore." And so uh, the world has changed, but most people still haven't. Most people never watched the entirety of an 80-minute porn movie. They watched the same 4 or 5 1-minute segments of the different scenes where different people were getting off. Okay, we call the cum shot in porn the money shot. Okay, there's the pop shot, which is where the guy actually ejaculates, and the money shot, which is the one that guys are going to repeat going to over and over again. In most cases, most of the money shots had more to do with the girl appearing to have a great time, which is a very funny thing because women imagine that men don't care about whether women have a good time because most men don't provide those women with a particularly good time on their first outing. And if they didn't provide a very good time on the first outing, they're very unlikely to get a second at bat. Okay? If a girl doesn't respond to you after she went to bed with you, the odds are you didn't provide a good time in bed. No matter how much she pretended, no matter how well she faked an orgasm, women universally will explain to you, if asked, there's only one reason for a girl to fake an orgasm. It's to get her partner to stop. The only reason a girl fakes an orgasm is to have her partner stop. Either because what he's doing doesn't feel good or will never get her to where she needs to be, and she doesn't want to bruise his ego or make him feel bad because at least he's trying. Okay? But when a girl fakes an orgasm, it's to communicate to you that what you've done was sufficient, let's move on. Now, every guy out there has probably learned some number of things that are completely useless. And because every girl he's done them with has faked an obvious, clear orgasm to get him to stop, he thinks that those things are the go-to to provide her with a good time. But instead, he's programming himself to repetitively make the same mistake over and over with every new girl. And this, of course, must fall onto both man's lousy communication and understanding and women's unwillingness to let a man know the truth. In porn, I ran a company called Satan's School for Girls. It was a training college for young porn starlets who wanted to become good in front of the camera. The porn companies and the modeling agencies would send the girls to me at the production company's expense to help a girl learn how to get her hair out of her face when she's giving a blowjob, how to communicate to her partner, "You're going too deeply, this is going to cause me too much trouble," or whatever, all the various things she needed to understand, and how to make herself look hot, be exciting, and communicate what she needed to her partner to ensure that she had the best time she could, or at the very least, she looked like she was having the best time that she could. One of the things that was really entertaining was the number of women I was teaching how to do things with other girls who had absolutely no fucking clue what to do with other girls, even though they may have been to bed with many of them. Girls fake orgasms with one another, also to no advantage. Okay? It's crazy. It's crazy. You might end up with two beautiful girls who both think they are bisexual because they've been with lots of girls, and the two of them will end up hooking up with one another. And one of them, in order for her to get off, or in order for her to feel sensitive, she basically needs someone with a feather-light touch or just blowing over her clit hood will give her all the sensation that she needs to get really into the moment. The other girl may need you to practically lift off her clit hood and touch her up with a belt sander before she's going to notice. Imagine what happens to these two girls together. Okay? First girl lies down and starts to go down on her partner, doing what she imagines she would like, which is the most lightweight feather touch she could possibly have. The other girl is lying there wondering when she's going to start, because none of this is doing anything
Where's the
for her.
jackhammer?
Yeah, okay. But after a couple of minutes, she fakes an orgasm so that her partner knows that she can now move on. And they switch. Now the second girl goes in. She's going to do the thing she likes. And the first girl, who needs a feather touch, leaps off like Sylvester grabbing for the chandelier to try and get away. Okay? It's because the overwhelming disconnection. Because it's fascinating. For most guys to get off, they need one of a half a dozen movements at one of a half a dozen speeds. And that's the universe of what it takes to get most guys off. a half a dozen things that could be done at a half a dozen speeds. One of them is eventually going to be the trick. For women, instead of having switches and push numbers, it's a 100% rheostatic. It's 100% changes. A girl may not want you to touch her nipples abruptly at the beginning of foreplay, but 15 minutes in, she may want you to practically chew those fuckers off. Okay? Women change as their hormones motivate and modulate, as their sensations change. Women are all over the map. Some women, as both Marcus and Justin have said, there are women who are either in the peak of ovulation a few days before their body is about to release an egg, and so their brain is saying, flood me with jizz so that I will get pregnant this time. And they'll go out almost at the point of ready to have sex with anyone who looks at them cockeyed, whereas the rest of the month they won't even notice. Some girls are so easy to please or have such a good connection to their sexuality, and they don't necessarily want intimacy, because if the guy is allowed to talk for 5 minutes, she's never going to want to talk to him again. But if she can shut him up after 90 seconds and just get him to bend her over and start fucking her, she's going to get what she's after. So the poisonous thing is, and this is true in the porn industry and in the real world, as a general rule, most women will watch about 5 minutes of porn and then need to get fucked. They will need to get railed. But if you force them to watch 20 minutes of a porn, they'll probably never want to have sex again. Okay? Women are not good at being in the state of a high arousal and not getting what they need. Yes, in terms of bondage and discipline or power exchange, it's great.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've been doing it wrong for a long time.
No. It depends. It's very context specific. Nothing I am saying is a one size fits all everything for anybody. But there's no question many women love that sensation of edging. They love to be just around the corner from what they know is going to be incredible. But here's the panic switch, guys, and this is really, really critical. The reason that women overwhelmingly don't think men give a shit about women, whether women are having a good time, is because women consistently teach men that the trick to getting a girl to have that incredibly obvious, huge orgasm like they have in the porno movies, which is virtually always nothing but faked, is to do what usually is the wrong thing that isn't actually making her happy. Because women don't really understand what it is that pleases women. Overwhelmingly, when a woman is on course to have a real, honest-to-God orgasm, her brain has switched off its ability to record what's going on. Her brain has switched into, I'm now on track, this is working, and so I'm going to just shut down. Have you ever been with a girl who was having a great time with you in bed, and you were doing something, and she was going, oh, that's perfect, okay? And then she shut up. She just became silent, didn't move, and so you thought, oh, geez, I guess this isn't working anymore. Because as men, we don't understand. When a girl stops moving, you're doing the right thing. When a girl stops moving and stops communicating in any way, it means she's now on track for the orgasm she craves. Try to imagine this, fellas. Imagine you're standing in front of your buddy, and you've got an itch in the middle of your left shoulder blade. You say, could you scratch her? So he goes, sure, and he scratches in the middle. And so you move yourself a little so that where he's scratching is now in the right place. And you get your satisfaction and all is good. Women do this all the time in sex because they know that telling you to move this way or telling you to move that way is very unlikely to have much effect. And worse, when you've moved to make it comfortable for them, you'll only do it for a moment and then you'll move back. So girls will move themselves to where what you're doing is something they can rely on, because if you're already doing it and they put themselves to where you need them to be, they're likely to get their satisfaction. The problem is for most men, when the women stop communicating that faked orgasm sound, they think, oh, something has changed. And so the guy will shift it up, making the poor girl go crazy, because instead of the guy just doing what he was doing, which they moved themselves to make easy for you, you lose faith in that what you were doing was the right thing because they never communicated to you, I'm going to adjust myself so I get what I need. And you, of course, you want to do for them what they need, so you take their cues. But the best cue a girl can give you that you're doing the right thing is no communication at all. No movement, no cue. When you're doing the right thing, she won't communicate at all, and you have to have confidence that the reason she's not adjusting herself or telling you anything is because what you're doing is actually on track to get her off. So this is the simplest model in the world. I want you guys to all memorize this, everyone out there, and I imagine my panelist friends all know this. When a woman gets into bed with a new guy for the first time, she's excited and thinking this is like climbing to the front seat of the roller coaster. She gets into the seat, and the roller coaster starts to move forward, and she's hearing the ticking noise as the ratchets are holding it in place as the roller coaster is being lifted and going towards what should be a climactic crescendo that takes her off into a tremendous gleeful enjoyment. But what happens in most cases is 5 minutes go by of tick, 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 tick as the roller coaster is going up. The guy who might have been doing the right thing gives up confidence in what he was doing was the right thing, and she slides back down to the beginning. So eventually the guy starts doing something, or she says, try doing this, or could you do this, or she moves herself, and then the guy starts bringing her back up again, tick, 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 tick. But because she's now excited and white knuckle ready for the point where she gets over the first crest and begins on the enjoyment part, the guy, again, loses confidence in what he's doing, so he changes, and she slides back down again. After the second or third one, she gives up hope of actually having a good time, fakes an orgasm, and tells the guy she's got to go because she's got to be up early, and then won't call him back, because there was no joy for her there. Now, once in a while, a guy actually knows what he's doing, or is good at communicating, or he says to her, hey, no matter what you tell me, if you tell me what you'd like, whether in the moment or in advance, I will do my very best to do exactly what you've told me. If you tell me, keep doing that, I will do everything in my power to just keep doing whatever it was you told me. And I won't stop until you make it clear you want me to. And the girl will go, oh my God, I might actually get off. And a lot of her worry will vanish. It's kind of like when you break out a big wall plugged in vibrator, a wand vibrator, not an insertion vibrator. And she goes, oh God, this guy doesn't mind using toys. I'm actually going to get off. Okay? Because once she recognizes that the endeavor is not going to be a furtive one where all she's going to get out of it is the excitement, and then she's going to get herself off while you're having your smoke or your nap, or when you've left, and she's just trying to get the excitement in advance so that just like with you, if you watch porn and get off, it's nowhere near as good as if you've made out with a girl for 30 minutes and then you get off, because the hormones and the endorphins aren't there. The excitement, the arousal isn't there. When you go to porn, it's just to accomplish helping you get off. It's not to get you to an aroused state, to stay an aroused state. Now, that's if you're not using porn with a partner. As far as I'm concerned, pornography exists for only one reason. It's to help facilitate people's having a good time in bed, whether they're alone or with a partner. When you watch porn with a partner, it certainly can help exhilarate everything and make the arousal much higher. But if you're watching porn on your own, no problem. Enjoy it for what it is. But if you don't set for yourself the intention of not just using it so I can get off in 60 seconds and go to sleep, but use it to learn what it takes to get me too excited to stop myself, and then through either, as I had suggested, using a vibrator or doing masturbation or whatever, or using concentrations on your breathing, or for you, Ice, I imagine baseball's not a thing. I'm confident for Marcus it's not. In the United States, it's common to say, think about baseball to keep yourself from getting off. I imagine it's Aussie rules or cricket or whatever it is that's local in your region. But you shouldn't need to take yourself out of your state in order to keep yourself from getting off. Edging is all about riding that crescendo, being at the top of the wave and knowing that you can allow yourself to collapse into it, or you can just keep enjoying the ride at the highest state of arousal. But that's going to require your knowing where your tipping point is, where you're going to fall into the final moments before you wish to, which is why I believe we're all in quorum here that it requires you're getting to know what it takes to make it that you've gone too far and you're not going to be able to keep going. Now, Marcus suggested keep switching it up. When you reach the point where any more stroking at this level, I'm definitely going to get off, but I don't want to get off because she hasn't had a good enough time yet. So, hey, let me just bury my face in you for a while. I really love eating you, or whatever. All of these are accurate things. You can do all sorts of stuff, and you can do it wordlessly, or you can give them an announcement. Just change things up, because as long as you're leading and she never feels that she's being abandoned, she'll let you make whatever decisions you like. But checking in with her often is necessary, but it shouldn't require your breaking her state. In other words, when you're doing the right thing and she's therefore neither moving nor commenting, and you look up at her and you see her eyes rolling off into oblivion or whatever, and you just look at her having pre-stated at the beginning, when it looks like you're having the right time, I'm going to just keep doing exactly what I'm doing. I'm committed to not changing up when you stop telling me what you'd like. Because the girl will go, oh, because she does not know whether you've gone down on her perfectly for 5 minutes or 50 minutes. She has no idea of what you were doing that brought her off, whether it took 60 seconds or it took an hour. Check in with your partners. They'll admit this. They don't even know that this is true for them. Because when your brain stops recording, you have no idea of what's going on. You can't look back in your memories and see what was going on because you didn't record those memories. Okay? So
it's like that point with that heightened crescendo. That's when I do start asking questions, right?
because
I mean, I'm a bit of a sadist, so I utilize that area sometimes
sure,
with
because
the
she's not going to
silence
fall
and the
out.
brain.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's like, no, come in, look at me, and then
Right.
start asking questions that they can't possibly
Right.
answer.
In fact, it's a marvelous thing. Here's something. When I used to teach guys how to bring girls home from clubs, I would tell them all the time. The most important thing is once the girl is in state and you're her leader and she has decided to have you take her on an adventure, do not engage with her. Do not ask her about how long she's been in town or what she's doing. Just get her to the car, turn on the radio, ask her if she likes this, tune around, take out a vibrator if you happen to have one with you or one plugged in the car. I used to carry around with me a vibrator
Plugged
I
into
brought
the
with me
lighter port.
everywhere. Yeah, I had a vibrator.
never
I
leave home without it.
called Reciprocity. It's a little 10-inch long wand vibrator. The top 2 inches was the vibrating part. It was never designed to be inserted in anyone. I could throw a condom over the top of it so she could feel confident that no other girl had ever been touched with this. I would use this on her in the nightclub and get her off because I would let her know when I was meeting her, first time I'd ever meet her, never had a conversation with her before. I'd point out when we were having a really good time, I don't take numbers from girls until I've had my penis in their mouth. This way, I know that they're not looking at me as a guy who wants to audition for them a bunch of times to try and get their interest. That what they're interested in from me is what I'm interested in from them. Having a really great time that's highly sexualized. So, of course, I would get them off on the dance floor with the help of my little friend Reciprocity. Because women are huge on reciprocity.
Testing, 1, 2,
Oh,
3.
my God. We hear ya.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Your 1, 2, 3 question came through.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay? Because once a girl knows that you're actually going to provide her with a good time and that you're not too intimidated to use a toy with her, that you're dedicated to ensuring that she's going to enjoy herself, all her concerns about whether or not this is going to be a wasted evening vanish. Okay? The best thing I've ever found for maintaining sexual tension is let the girl know that she can rely on me. I am going to bring her to where she wants to be. And I do this mostly non-verbally, mostly through my playful confidence, somewhat through my expressions, looking at her in the face and knowing what's on my mind, and having such a long and established track record of learning and knowing what to do, that I can know I'm going to bring this girl to bed and fuck her brains right out of her head. And then she feels it and she'll defer. In fact, the human nature is that the masculine presence is looked to for leadership. The feminine personality looks for a masculine presence that will lead. This can be true amongst lesbians, gay men. The feminine personality looks for leadership to the more masculine personality. If the masculine personality is not comfortable and confident and willing to lead, doesn't need to be domineering, doesn't need to be dominant, but it does need to be self-comfortable, self-confident, willing and able to make a decision, and comfortable taking the leadership role. And then the feminine person will gladly defer, counting on the other person to bring them where they need to be. And this works regardless of your gender or your sex. It's to do with your personality and your personality type. For the people on this, I imagine we are all fundamentally male, fundamentally taking on the masculine role. And so what the girl needs from you is for you to accept your responsibility to be the leader and your confidence that you know where you're going to be leading her to, and that she can comfortably put herself in your hands. I'm a little older, I think, than most of the guys on the phone. I'm in my middle 50s. When I was a younger man, if I went out on a date with a girl who had a car, almost invariably she would hand me the car keys. She wanted me to lead.
Wow.
This was not, it was because she had her dad's car or a car that was given to her for her sweet 17 or whatever. But she wanted me to be responsible for them both. When a girl gets upset about a guy taking advantage of her because she got drunk, in most cases, she drank to make him fuckable. Date rape drugs exist. They're usually alcohol, and they're almost always self-administered. Guys drink to give themselves the courage to do what the woman wants them to do. Girls drink to remove responsibility for their accountability of choosing to go to bed with who they went to bed. I go to nightclubs, I meet girls, I flirt and chat with them, and before I'll have them order a drink or buy them a drink, or before the bartender comes up and asks what they want, I say, just a second, we're having a really good time, and I just want to make sure before you have a second drink that you understand that having this drink implies consent. And they go, what? I say, well, right now, you're still able to make a decision. If you choose to come home with me, we can go home together and have a great time. But after you've had a second drink, you couldn't legally drive. You certainly can't legally decide to come to bed with me. So after you've had this second drink, no matter how well we're getting along, I'm not going to be able to take you home for at least several hours, during which you can't have been consistently drinking. So I'm going to ask you now, presuming that we're still having a great time going along, is it your intention, presuming that you still wish to at the time, to come home with me later? If so, and I will tell the bartender, I'll say, please get them the Singapore Sling or get them their gin and soda or whatever, but please ask the bartender to put the alcohol in a sidecar. Bring in a different glass. So the girl will look over at me, look over at the drink, see the soda and the shot, pick up the shot, pour the shot into her drink, take a sip and say, you want to get out of here? Okay. Girls would much rather be getting laid than getting drunk. And once they've gotten to the point where they've recognized that this man is able to make a decision, will not look down upon me with contempt. In fact, the only way I ever look down on women is with appreciation. The only way you can look down on a woman with appreciation is when she's sucking your dick, when you're staring into her cleavage. Okay? So I love women. I only look down on them with great appreciation and enthusiasm. If I can't consider them a peer, if I can't look at them and know we're both doing this because we choose to, both of us making decisions because we appreciate what we're getting into, who we are, what we're after, and who this person is that I'm spending time with, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Right? my worldview has always been
Can I just jump in about the
go
alcohol
right ahead.
drinking?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the
You,
original question was
I know
how to
you
last
you
long.
guys are Australians. I understand you've outlawed alcohol. That's purely a joke.
Yeah, I'm just very wary of the audience that we have. I'm just picturing a lot of guys out there. They go on a date, they have a drink, the girl goes to get a second drink. They're like, if you have another drink, that means consent to us having sex. And I just for the guys listening, I would much rather. I agree with you, right? There are some guys out there that try to use alcohol as a tool, where it's like, okay, let's just drink as much as we can, especially frat party culture, things like that. Sex is horrible when you're drunk, and then you also got to worry about regret the next day and
Or
recharge and
her
things like that. I think
her
it's
regret. Her regret.
well, to be fair, both ways.
Oh no!
Yeah, some
I'm
guys
sorry.
are terrible.
And
No, no.
I think the important part here is to understand that, but to manage it maybe what I would do is without actually verbally saying it. So what I would encourage guys is go on a date, have one drink, and then pull, right? There's no point being on a date for 3 hours. There's no
100%.
point having like a bunch of drinks back home. I think one drink, if that's your level, that's fine. As you said, I'm from Australia. I think girls can handle a few more than that, to be fair.
It's not about that.
But
Let
I
me
think,
give you an important.
sorry, I'll just quickly finish. And then I think the other thing is there's a lot of guys going out at night gaming. So if you are with a girl that's already had 5 drinks or some shit, right? If you are gonna pull, then I just wouldn't fuck that night, right? You said wait 7 hours. I think that's fine. I think like pull the girl, you can tease her. Justin spoke about this, like build her right up, get her to the point where she really wants it, and then don't give it to her. Because then the next morning when you wake up, trust me, this girl is going to be super horny, and there's going to be a lot less slut shaming concerns because you haven't really been pushing for it. So I think it's a good thing for guys to understand is that consent. The girl needs to actually know what the fuck she's doing. So don't encourage alcohol. Don't get her to drink a bunch. But I think there's a line there, and I think you can do it in a way that's probably not so